How
How
are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
No problem. Thanks for the interview.
You're all good. You're all good. We're recording already. We're away. So I'll crack on. The guys were in touch with me about your upcoming PIV Records showcase in Covacenta. So I'm really keen to talk to you about that. The listeners that are going to be watching this podcast, they're mostly DJs, producers, industry people, people that are kind of trying to do for themselves what you've done for yourself and for PIV. And so we got about half an hour. I wanted to touch on three key areas. The first,
So people see me now like this, or you just record, you write down everything.
yeah, no, they're going to see you like this. We're on video, so they
Oh,
they
okay,
can
super.
they can see straight in. So there'll be some people that are listening, there'll be some people that are watching, and then there'll be some people that will read it as well. So we'll get to them always. Um,
Perfect.
So, like, there's three key things that I wanted to talk about. The first off is bookings, because every DJ, it's the key that every DJ has to unlock. And like looking at what you've done with obviously the residency and staff work, digital awakenings, constantly touring. I had a call with Defected just this morning. They were telling me that you've got a stage at their upcoming thing. And so that's something you've obviously unlocked. And first off, I want to pick your brain on that. After that, I want to talk quickly about getting signed. Because again, that's the second key that every DJ wants to unlock. You sit on both sides of the table. So, like looking at your releases, you're on legendary house music labels, King Street, Nervous, Defected. But then you also sit on the other side of the table where you run a great label. And so you're getting pitched the releases. So you can kind of see it from both angles. And then finally, I want to talk to you just about running a brand, because that's something that a lot of the artists that we have, it's like a goal to have a brand that does really well, to have a label tied to it that just kicks off, and then to be able to do event series in places like Covacenta. It's like a pinnacle for a lot of artists. And so I want to touch on those three, and we can sort of touch on some of the Ibiza stuff as well. But which one of those would you like to start with? If you were to pick one first that you're most passionate about.
Yeah, I think DJ gigs because yeah, especially DJ. I was starting with the DJ and the labels and releases all kind of stuff would become later.
Yeah.
So I think I was like around 15, 16 years old. I came from like a little village, like 20 minutes from Amsterdam. And basically there were no like house parties in the time. And I was also like a professional football player in that time, like become a professional football player.
Okay.
So, but I was also really into the music. And yeah, especially in house music, like yeah, like more like filter house, like Ian Pulley, Bob Sinclair, and that kind of music.
Amazing.
And yeah, like in that time, like we talk about like 16 years ago now or something, you had more like a really big EDM upcoming scene that time. But I was more, yeah, specific into the soulful house music and that kind of music, you know.
Yeah.
And my brother gave me like an Ian Pulley album, and I thought, okay, when I'm gonna start house parties, I want to have this music and I want to play this music on my parties. So I started here in my village, like maybe for 100 people.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I post something on the internet and I discover there's like people driving 2 hours from Holland to my party because I thought, hey, there's still a guy he organizes this kind of music. So I was really happy that like, hey, maybe 100 people, but yeah, they like house music.
Beautiful.
So actually, when I became 18, I moved to Rotterdam, and some promoters in that time in Rotterdam, they know like there was like a little kid like me, organizing more soulful house music. So in that time, a lot of promoters put me as a warm-up spot there to DJ gigs. So, but it was also because I went a lot of to parties in that time. So I was 18 years old. I go every week to a party, and then they say, "Hey, actually, what are you doing?" Yeah, I'm a DJ. So and then I gave my CD because at that time you have like CDs. I
Yeah.
gave it to some promoters, and they started to book me. And that's actually the start of my DJ career and how I get DJ gigs in that time. Yeah, and when I look to this model, I still look to this model because when I get some new talents, I always try to answer when they send me music, especially people who are sometimes afraid to send me music because they think,
Yeah.
hey, it's not good. So,
Be a common
but
fear. Like a lot of DJs do suffer from that when you're chatting to them. They're not pitching labels and they're not pitching clubs purely because they're afraid of making a fool of themselves or they're not good enough or imposter
yeah,
syndrome.
yeah. At the other side, I also respect that because sometimes when you push too much and it's not good, it's also a little bit hard to give them always feedback.
Of course.
But I always try. Okay, if you want to send me something when you think about yourself. Okay, it's done. I'm ready for it.
I'm proud of it.
So yeah, so when I look to this model, when I get some new music or new stuff, and I also know they DJing, I always try to give them gigs. For example, when I find some new talents, I also say, hey, are you DJing as well, or are you only a producer? Yeah, so most of the time, I in the beginning I know a lot of good producers, but the DJ thing is like another thing,
Yeah, of
to
course.
become to play for, especially on a party of PIV, we always try to book some DJs with some experience, because like I like to have DJs that do the proper warm up and not playing like 130 BPM on 5 o'clock in the midday, So yeah. So that's also for me. Like, so my advice is to get DJ gigs is like find something and club nearly to your place and making hours every week, like a residency or something, or starting in a restaurant. Basically, you are now in Ibiza, but the most best DJs that I know are residence DJs in Ibiza playing for restaurants like 3-4 hours a day. Then
Yeah.
you know how to DJ.
Yeah.
So my advice is to make if you want to have some DJ gigs or some bookings, make those hours. Make first those hours, and then starting playing on party or festivals.
And work from
Because
there.
if I look to my career, I did this like for 10 years. From my 15 to 25, I play every week 5-6 hours in like a bar for 20 people or whatever, And
Yeah.
sometimes you had a nice gig between.
I, I think this is beautiful advice because a lot of the time when we're chatting to young DJs, especially, they're looking at the top levels or they're looking at other guys that have really popped off and they're playing, the good Ibiza clubs, the big festivals, and they're wanting to just play those. Whereas, they're maybe turning their nose up at those earlier gigs or the restaurant gigs or the small gigs. Where you really cut your teeth and you learn your craft and you get really, really good. Um, and you touched on that, and you touched on another point, which I would like to kind of dig a bit deeper on. Quite often we hear from DJs. Let's say they're in a city where there's no EDM, and they're an EDM DJ, or there's no techno, and they're a techno DJ, and they're saying I can't get gigs in my city. But what you're saying is build it, and they'll come. There was no soulful house parties where you started, but that can be a positive or a negative, whatever way you look at it.
Yeah, like I think I also the most important thing is fun. So I think if you're young and you want to have a party, you want to have some good music what you like, and I'm not becoming a DJ for becoming famous or something.
Yeah,
So I started with the guys from Dekmantel, maybe you know them from
yeah,
Holland,
of course.
Dekmantel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I started with Thomas Matocchio. He was like 70 years old. I was 18 years old, and he booked like King Brit for 50 people.
Love it.
Yeah, and I also booked like some soulful DJs in that time, and only like 75 people coming, and of course you lost money for it. But on the other side, you also think, hey, it's not really about to book an artist, and what you said is about to booking the community.
Yeah,
So what we did is like so when I come to Rotterdam, I was also in school in Amsterdam, and I also know, of course, some people they are into the music and they don't really like commercial music. So I try to I was a little bit lucky because my wife was like on an art school, like a fashion school, and most of the time they're like creative people, of course, and they like
yeah.
more experimental, more house music and kind of stuff. So I invited them, and like other people from art schools coming also there. Hey, what is the kind of music? Yeah, and so we create a little bit
It's the vibe.
a scene, and also for me, I started maybe Deep House Amsterdam. Maybe you know that
Of
blog.
course. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know
So
Lex.
yeah, so I started with Lex together, actually, Deep House Amsterdam. So
Okay.
not everybody knows that, but
No, that's
so,
a great
yeah.
publication.
So we also started with like it was like a SoundCloud, and we had like only like 2,000 followers. But then we started with Ed and Carrie Chandler a podcast and Solomon a podcast in that time, and it was growing. And in that time, nobody knows Solomon. That time, only know like the underground DJ.
Yeah.
And after that, it started rolling. And then and I think was the reason that I started PIV later, because I thought okay, because deep house was in general a really big term, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But for me, I always want to live a little bit more like, for me was deep house more the Kerry Chandler kind of vibe, that kind of stuff.
Deep house
And that
became
was
not deep house for a while. Deep house was kind of just everything was deep house.
yeah, exactly. And also when this deep house become more bigger, you also get like VIP areas and the kind of things, you know. And it was actually one of the reasons that we start PIV, because we thought, okay, we want to create a house party
Yeah.
where everybody is VIP. So if you turn around PIV, what stands there is VIP, PIV
Ah,
VIP.
okay.
So that's the
Okay.
reason we yeah, that's the reason we create always like an audience, like a DJ booth in the middle, and we try to dance people around it, and then you have like a kind of VIP area, but actually everybody is VIP. So that's where people invited come from.
I love the concept. I hadn't picked that up at all. That's really nice. Okay, so like one of the things we talk about with DJs a lot is bringing the audience, and like an audience is great not just for promoting yourself but also as a networking tool, because if you have that audience you can naturally partner and collab with people. And you talking about launching Deep House Amsterdam and doing the radio shows and all that, that becomes a great networking tool where you're in the hub of everything, and you get to partner with all sorts of labels and artists, and that alone is a career elevator. Would you agree?
100%. And also what people didn't know, like Deep House Amsterdam was actually not like it was more a community, like, so
Yep.
it was a community that all the producers in the same position as me, they come together, you know.
Yeah.
And that's also for the, if you are in a DK, for example, you live in Blackpool or whatever, and you know another guy that play your same music, most of the people, they don't want to work together because they think about themselves. But I always say work together because your community will be bigger, you know?
Yeah. He's got your fans and you've got his.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. And also what we also did is like, yeah, it's very hard when you start it and you don't have a lot of budget and you think, okay, how I do sell tickets, for example.
Yep.
I always say, okay, if you start small with 200 people, and at least when you think, okay, I don't sell tickets, put 100 people on the guest list, for example, where
Fill
you're
it.
100% sure they will promote your party on Instagram or whatever, or on Facebook or on TikTok, and then all those 100 people, they have shared. So I always say, okay, if 100 people share my story and 100 people looking, that means 1,000 people see my party,
Yeah.
and that's and that's, I think, if you're a DJ now, yeah, it's networking. It's what you're saying, building a brand around yourself, but also the people that comes, they need to feel they are join the community. So we also have with PIV family, we have a PIV family. There are like 500 people in a WhatsApp group, but they feel as a family,
Yeah.
because it's not about me. No, it's about the people. And I think if you go to a party, yeah, you also want to have you want to join the party, but you also think, hey, it's important to, yeah, be a part of the party, you know. That's
Of
for me also really important.
I
Yeah,
think anytime I've seen a brand like really use the family thing and think of it like that, there's been real longevity there. Like when I think of Southport Weekender, like Southport Weekender, 25 years running, but they talk about
the
the
best one.
Southport
Yeah,
family, you know? And everybody that goes, like I've met people at Southport that were at Southport 1, 25 years ago, and they're still coming, and it's their only party all year because they've got to see their family. They're meeting people that they only see once or twice a year at these events, and it really works. It kind of builds that community around the music, and the festival
yeah,
can outlast the original promoters who may have stepped away, or I think one of the Southport promoters has passed, but the festival continues
yeah,
on.
yeah. I think also they stopped for 2 years and
Yeah,
they restart again. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but Southport Weekend was for me actually the perfect example. Like, hey, how you create a community for soulful lovers.
me
But
too.
what I always saw, my dream in that time was always, okay, how we can do this on a more bigger audience for like new people. And
Yeah,
that's what I want to create a little bit with PIF or PFV. So because yeah, if you go to Southport there, where you say it's they really like soulful lovers
yeah,
and like older people or whatever. But if you look to our parties, like also new people, I always say if PIV can be your first house experience, it's a compliment.
Yeah, of
But
course.
you need to market for that people. That it still be cool, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, and I always say never believe your own hype. So I always try
It's almost never
to
true.
no, yeah. So I always try to refreshing things. So whenever there's coming a new guy from 18 years old, I'm not gonna say I know more better. I know much more than him from house music. No, because it's a new generation. I learn from him, and I learn. They learn from me, and we try to hybrid that sound a little bit. You know?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And thinking on that, like chatting to Defected earlier, they have embraced that family thing as well. And you see a similar thing there where they have to
Yeah,
reinvent themselves as they go. You know, the Defected of now is completely different to the Defected in 2016, but it always
100%.
bringing in the
Yeah,
new breed and pushing it forward.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, so it's yeah, so what is yeah, so what the advice is what you say actually that's true. Like yeah, if you're a DJ now and you want to make a job from it, you know, yeah, it's marketing, it's a community build up, it's working together with some people, and also yeah, do something new because that's also when I get a good demo on PIF, for example, and it's really good. But actually, it's a remake from a half year ago. So I come in the point, hey, it's very cool. I want to sign it, but I cannot sign it because it's a remake.
yeah,
So for me, it's really important that people have a kind of refreshing sound, you know. So then I think also that's also important uh, as a DJ. Do what you like for yourself, and also create something where you think, okay, this is something special, you know.
yeah, yeah. I stand out a little bit. I'm not the same as everybody else.
No, yeah. Of course, you can be a DJ and can, yeah, in this time you can be like a supermodel, whatever, and you can play a top on the Beatport list. But yeah, that's not. I think that's more for the shorter term. If you want
Sure,
to, if you want to do this
sure.
for like a longer term, you need to think about your concept.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta have the passion. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so moving on to bookings, like this is a real interesting one with you because yeah, some of the labels you're signed to are house music royalty, and then on the other side, you're sitting on the other side of the chair, so you'll have experienced that hustle of trying to get tracks with labels that you wanted to release your music, and then also you have the beauty of seeing all the other DJs that are trying to get on your label, all the people that are doing it well, and all of the awful demos that you're getting that you wish you could just tell them how they're doing it wrong. Um, Talk to me.
Yeah,
Oh, go.
yeah, first of all, I don't know if you can imagine how many demos I receive every day.
I hate to think about it.
Okay, but it's like 50 plus, like serious demos, you know?
Okay,
So
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 50 genuine direct demos a day.
yeah, so that's a
A
lot
lot.
actually, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a really good A&R, that's like MI, Marine. He's and before or A&R was Chris Tussie, a good friend
Okay.
of mine as well.
Okay.
But he was but now Marine is actually and he need to check every demo because sometimes you find gold in it, you know?
Yeah.
And but now in this time we become more a popular label. So yeah, of course the bigger artists they send us music as well now. But I don't sign it by name. I always sign if it's good.
Yeah.
Or yeah, when it's not good. For example, yeah, I cannot say the name now, but for example, last month I had a really big artist on my label for a remix, and he sent me 12 times the remix back, and then you need to say at the end, yeah, sorry, but this is
All
not
right.
what we're looking for, you know. And sometimes so this is also really hard, and I will also go through this moment a few years ago when I sent some music to labels. For example, when I just started, when I was DJing, I sent some labels, and they said, yeah, it's not good enough. But now at this point, I see why it's not good enough. Maybe it was good enough, but it was not what the label was looking for.
Yeah.
And and that's the difference, you know. Like we sign a track. If you send me some music, it needs to be something where I'm looking for it at the moment, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a killer track, but just on a different label.
Exactly, and yeah, it's a big compliment when when I see, okay, I release now more on the legend labels, like for example Nervous or King Seed or whatever, where what I really like a few years ago. But now I think it's also important where I release if the labels also do like proper parties or proper showcases, and that's also a little bit what we're doing. We are a house label, but we also do big events and big festivals, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's sometimes it's really hard to select music what you want to release on your label, because we also want yeah, for example, how I can say it.
It has lots of places it needs to go. If you have the festivals and you have the events, you can't just think about it in the sphere of, okay, how will this sound on the radio, or how will this work as a release, but also will the artist slot into the festivals? Will it, like, there's a bigger picture around these releases?
Yeah,
Is that what you're trying to
that's
say?
exactly, yeah.
Okay, so like on that, then we get a track into the demo, let's say, and obviously first and foremost, as you said, it's got to be the right track. It's got to be sounding good and it's got to be right for you. But what other boxes are you looking for an artist to tick? Like, what else is there to consider?
Yeah, well, I think, what you would say, if it's really good, I always sign it, but most of them, it's like also always a process, because you can send me one track, but we need to have three good tracks.
Yeah,
And most of the time, when I get like a lot of demos from new talents, they send me one good track, and it take a long time to finish this EP. But if you look like more to professional artists, they are working a lot time in this business. They
yeah,
always send me like a 4 EP track and like 4 quality tracks. And most of the time, I really like them. And sometimes you need to switch 1 or 2 tracks. But that's actually, yeah, my advice is to producers, okay, just check a label and try to. I always say, yeah, we need 1 A track. No, actually, I want 4 A tracks.
okay.
Four, and of course, the one can be more a little bit more dubby or more groove or whatever. But I always looking for perfection.
4 killers.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that
So if artists are pitching PIV, what you're looking for is you're looking for 4 tracks submitted ideally. And if an artist comes to you with 1 killer track, are you
we
entertaining
we,
that
we
and coming
try
back?
to we if you have only 1 track, we always try to maybe put them on a sampler or something, because a sampler is still one of our best selling products
Of
at
course.
Beatport, and also on DK. So, but the whole thing is like, if I'm an artist, I don't want to release too much on a sampler, because in sampler you're one of the 12 tracks.
Yeah.
But of course, if you release 1 track on our sampler, it's a good start of your music career. If you look to our discography and you see the samplers, you see a lot of artists that, like for example Toman, or no, especially Another as well. They also did an EP in the beginning at our label, and they now very big independent. So
Yeah.
it's a very good start to release on a label and also to release on a sampler. But yeah, for me, I always say you can better release one good EP on a good label than 4 separate tracks on four,
Four
yeah,
crappy
4 samplers.
labels.
Yeah,
Yeah,
crappy
yeah,
labels.
of course. And then, of course, if they've released on PIV and they're chatting to other labels, the other labels are naturally just going to take more notice. It's going to be easier to get other artists to listen to your tracks, or labels to listen to your tracks, when you've released on a good label already.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think if you say that you released on PIF, and you send an email to another label, that helps a lot.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
So, like, if let's say an artist has signed a track with you, um, the next step is the whole promo of it and the working together side. Sometimes you get an artist that they think once the track is signed, that's it, that's their work done, and the label's going to take care of it. But you'll have experience working with artists that were great to work with and really were just a pleasure throughout the whole process, and really helped. And you'll have probably experienced artists that really didn't really do a whole lot. If we were to look at best case scenario, when you get signed with a label, what are you looking for the artist to do? If you give the
Yeah,
artist
well,
the ideal situation.
I always say, like, are you open to invest in yourself? Like, for example, you can we always offer some packages, like for example, an a PR or media package, and most of the artists say, okay, yeah, let's do it. So they invest a little bit in together in the label on the PR company,
Okay.
And then, yeah, of course, a bigger DJ name, maybe you need some less media. But I think if you're a new artist, always do it, because invest in your media PR, because you get on some places, yeah, some people didn't know that it was exist, you know.
Of
So
course.
sometimes, for example, the Spotify playlists, you know, you cannot come there immediately. You need to know people. So if you know some people that can pitch you there or whatever, yeah, invest in them. And yeah, I think if you're gonna release at my label, yeah, we can make a deal, and you can get a recoupable deal, and then you invest more in your EP. I always say make money with your DJ gigs
Yeah.
and make name with your music, you know?
Nice way of
So
thinking of it. Okay, so flip it then to actually the brand side of it. When you it sounded like when you set up PIV, you already had Deep House Amsterdam, and so you were already in that kind of brand flow. You'd already had a brand for a while. So and we've talked about why you set up PIV. Talk to me about in general. I mean, having a brand versus, and when I say a brand, I mean the whole works, the the label side, the event side, all inclusive. I can see that on your website you do really nice merch, you have the agency, and so it's like it's a full 360. But talk to me about, rather than just being an artist, what are the advantages of having the brand? And do you think, is it for everybody, or does it take a specific type of artist?
well, I think it's you really need to be a social guy, for example, because also sometimes, especially in the beginning when they book me, a lot of promoters or sorry promoters DJs, they book me because they want a little bit more into yeah, in this kind of community, you know. So they also say, hey, we're gonna book Prunk for PIF. I think I separate this the last couple of years a lot. Like, so you have like Prunk and you have Piff, like two different brands at the moment. But in the beginning, yeah, you need to deal with a lot of things, because you get a request from showcase for Piff for like maybe for $100 in Berlin, you know. But you need to do it, and because you need to invest in yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think. Yeah, you also need a little bit, yeah, you need to promote yourself and also your label. You need to believe in your label. So I always say to them, okay, what what make you difference? What make your label difference than the other labels? You know. And I think if you have a good concept for that, then you can start your label, because I think it's really hard to make your label also an event company, you know,
Yeah.
because it's a totally different things. I started, and for example, if you we still with a lot of people from the same crew, yeah, but we also bring a lot of new people into the company because they know everything from events. When I started with a label, I was not a really good event organizer, so I put maybe too much people on the guest list, and at the end,
Yeah.
I lost money, you know. So it's also important to know what you're doing. And yeah, so my concept was always, when I had a PIF showcase, I did it in a small club for 500 people. I booked a name from the UK, for example, Sure I Can or Fred Everything,
Yeah.
and nobody knows that name from my age, but I put them bigger than my name, and they think, hey, there's a big headliner coming from the
Headliner.
US, you know. And people believe me because they think, okay, we know Prunk and his sound is correct, so when he booked a DJ, they trust me to that the night will be good, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that you are also, as a DJ, you start your label, and it needs to be a little bit close to yourself, to close to your sound. And I think if you can do that as an artist, like that, you have a label that match your sound, then I think you can grow in your own role, you know?
Yeah, and again, that really ties into what we were chatting about earlier. You need to have passion, and I mean, you can't do you authentically in a label if you're not passionate about it. And also build it, and they will come. It's what you're talking about there is they didn't know Sure I Can, they didn't know Fred Everything, but you were building that.
You know it because you're like I heard now already, you're a big house lover. You have
They were my
here.
sound. I was all over them.
Yeah.
I flew Just Ed around that time. Just Ed to
Yeah, of
Dublin
course, yeah.
to six people back in the day. All right,
Yeah, but we're still working in the music scene. Can you imagine that? That's already a compliment.
yeah, it hurt for a week or two, and then you just we keep going.
Yeah. And now what I like now, like, so now we have a big movement, and a lot of parties sold out as well. And now I can book, for example, I booked G to Donaldson last year, and I can give him a bigger crowd, you know. So I think it's also important that you also have a label now that also go a little bit with the time. So if you look to all new releases, it's also a lot of releases from DJs. They are now very active in a little bit more like commercial house CSC sound, but it's still house, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's very easy to say, okay, let's release like 100,000 TikTok tracks and get a lot of money. No, I will always want to stuck by the sound.
yeah.
So I always want to be ranked like 125 BPM till 128 BPM or whatever, you know, always in the same mid range.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, again, that ties into the family thing. If you've got your family and your core community there, you can evolve the sound as like they'll naturally be evolving anyway. But if you change the sound completely, well, now it's a different family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And those people are the most important. The people that were from the beginning on your party, never forget them. You know. And also because you also a lot of time in the music scene, but I changed my music taste a lot in 15 years. But at
Yeah.
the end, I'm coming back to the where it start from because I like house, but I also like Mr. Oizo or Ed Banger in that time. You know, 10 years ago. And I see this now with a lot of new DJs communities. They send me music, Biff, and then later, yeah, I don't like the Spiff sound anymore because I'm more now into the minimal sound. Yeah, but it's the same. It's house is house, you know. And now they come back say, hey, you book this now. I always say, okay, I want to book, for example, yeah, I book a Shade May on the beach last year in Cova Santa, but after him is playing a newer name, you know. So we try to always keep a little bit of fusion sound, you know.
Keep the flavor, keep the original flavor mixed with the new
Yeah,
flavor and kind of rest. Yeah, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So
yeah,
talk to me a little bit about that. We've got the events kicking off. Opening party is for those watching this straight away. It's next week, isn't it? 6th of June.
yeah. 6th of June, Tuesday. Yeah,
Talk to us about what you got planned. Cova Santa is a perfect venue for this kind of sound.
yeah. So last year they gave us the opportunity, but there were like a little bit sound restrictions outside. So we tried always last year we like more a little bit more disco funky house in the beginning. So it's like an open space. It's one of my favorite location on Ibiza. It's an actually the club is built on a cave. So if you came in, there's like a cave inside, and it's like maybe 5 degrees. So when it's really hot, people go into the cave.
Perfect.
It's an yeah. So uh, this year we have a lot of talents from PIV. Like so, we also have new people names like Artman, Jambek, Job de Jong. Those are like more Dutch guys, really good producers, but we give them a chance. So it's also more a little bit like a talent party. But also we have Archie Hamilton. I think we have some soulful house legends as well, but I don't see the lineup now. But maybe you can look with me.
We'll
But we
stick
always
the
try.
article down below.
Yeah.
For anybody watching this, everything will be down below.
Okay. So yeah, but DJs are playing where I know. Okay, if they play, they rock the crowd. You know,
Of
and
course.
and so and I also see that's. I always say my dream is to make other dreams possible. So if I see a new talent and you want to play in Ibiza, I say, okay, if you make this and this and you do this, I will book you next year on Ibiza. And this happened with some artists, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And that's music to any artist's ears. Talk to me about how hard is it to promote an event on the island? It's the most competitive club and space in the world, but also everybody comes for the club. So how do you find promoting an event on the island?
Yeah, so my idea was, I said, if with all respect for Ibiza, but last year I saw a lot of tech house parties and more like a little bit yeah, like the Ushuaia concept, what are really nice. But I think there's also they need to be place for more like soulful house music and some deep house music. So I didn't find really a concept like this, not really like
Yeah,
what we are doing. Of course, you have defected, and that's yeah, in my case a little bit more commercial. And
yeah.
you have of course you have like the glitter box nights and that kind of stuff, but it's more disco. So I thought, okay, I want to have a residency night where we can find proper house music And Cova Santa is, yeah, I think it's a place for 1,500 people when it's sold out. So I also do a little bit the concept like this. Okay, we know there are like a lot of Dutch people, so we try to promote it here in Holland already when people coming to the island.
Okay.
So people, yeah. So I think it's important to do your promotion like 1 month or 2 weeks before, and you're gonna promote a little bit. And what we always do is like, hey, are you going to Ibiza? Yeah, okay. We doing then a party. So for us also now, I think it's different than last year because now this year people already book for this party, but last year it was really hard because nobody knows on the island.
Yeah.
And but we are a little bit lucky because Amnesia was promoting our party as well because it's like the same group.
Yeah.
And yeah, they give us posters, some street promotion, and also I think if you put some people on the guest list, do it not too much, but do it like one day or the same day because on Ibiza people make their plans on the same day, not like 1 week or week before.
Yeah.
Especially the people from Ibiza. And I think for us, if we stay different than the other most other concepts, for example, DC10 or like Pacha or whatever, I think people will still come because I think we are like more like a cozy place with a with proper house music, and that's what we try to promote, you know.
Yeah,
And
100%. There
yeah,
definitely isn't a lot of social house parties on the island. I mean, yeah, you have touched on Defected and Glitterbox. They both do their thing, but quite different to
yeah,
what
you have some nice cool underground parties that maybe is the Soup Project still open or?
no, no, it's
Okay, yeah, yeah.
it's right in the background behind me, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, but
It's
that's actually what I really like always, and the underground and the guys party. But I think Koper sometimes is like it's an open place, but yeah, but it's not too fancy. It's like it's a good combination, yeah. Yeah,
yeah, it's a good vibe. It's a good vibe. In general, there's always lots of talk about Ibiza. Where's it going? What's the vibe? You get people giving out about the VIP. You get people that are cool with it and just move on and evolve. And there's always a debate. How do you feel about Ibiza today, 2023? What do you feel about the island?
well, no, like I always say you need to be thankful that my music is doing great over there, you know. But at the end, of course, it's really ridiculous when people need to pay so much for a ticket, of course, you know. And I also see when you look to, yeah, like 20 years ago in space or so, Bora Bora or something, you know, really people go for the music, you know, no phones, dancing for the music. The DJs get like 4 or 5 hours to play, you know. Now you really need to book big artists because people are, it's hard to sell tickets in those days, you know. So I
Yeah,
also see a big difference between rich and poor. So people, yeah, with a lot of money, they buy a table there, you know, and actually it's more like to show their things, you know. But I try to. I think Cover Santa still have a little bit this old Ibiza vibe. Like yeah,
definitely does. Yeah,
try to give the yeah. It's more about music. Like I think we don't sell like a lot of tables over there, and if we sell tables, it's more up, I guess. But on the dance floor, it's like more yeah. People come to dance, you know. And I think it doesn't matter if you're like black or white or purple or yellow or that you wear. So I think for Ibiza those time it's really commercial, but I think it will be nice if we can be a little bit more back to the basics, you know, like more like open parties, more less commercial parties. Yeah, you know, people say, yeah, of course, yeah, EDM is not anymore on the island, yeah, but there is a big tech house scene over there. What's like the same, you know? It's the same concept, except
it,
actually.
yeah, of course. It's an evolution. It's an evolution.
Yeah,
I think
and
one of the things about the island is in recent years it's been a lot of that. I don't think we'll see that go away. But I think if we could have a nice mix where
of
if you
course,
want to
yeah,
go and
yeah,
do
yeah,
that, you can go and do that. But if you want to do a Cova Santa or a Pikes or something that's or an underground,
yeah.
that is still there as well. I think that's
Of
important.
course, yeah, yeah, that's really important. And I think, you know, I'm not the one that say, hey, you cannot go to a commercial party or what is commercial, you know, because a lot of people they like it. So, but for me, when I see like old movies from Bora Bora at that time, I try
Yeah.
to get this a little bit more back in the music. But I think it's also important that the sound is a little bit like that. You know, like funky grooves. People need to be happy. If you
Yeah.
play too dark or whatever, you know, you always get given a different vibe. And of course, there are a lot of big parties with Till of Us or Adriatique or whatever, and people like that, and they need to go, and no problem for me.
Yeah.
But for me, more Piff sound is more funky, more Chicago groove. And I also want to say this to the DJs that play on my party with Cove Santa during the day. Keep it a little bit more funky because you don't have this too much on the island, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's put smiles on their faces.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go in a second, but what would be, we've got a lot of
Oh,
newbies.
I can talk 4 hours with you about this because I like it.
We've got a lot of people that will be on our socials that are looking at the island and haven't been before, but are coming this year for the first time. What would be your number one tip that you give to a newbie coming to Ibiza?
Well, I think you know like you need to do always the famous bucket list things. You know, I think you need to go to DC10, and you think yeah, because it's like it's a totally different game. You know, yeah, than normal clubs in around the world because you have like an open
Sure.
place. I think you need to go to the. Actually, you also have good record store there. So like I met some people there. Like they have like a local record store there. And they have some proper house music also from 20 years ago, and they collect it, you know. And yeah, I think you also need to go to High because it's the number one club, of course. And of course, you need to go to PIV in Koh Santa.
6 dates across the
And
summer.
yeah, and yeah, and also like the real beat time, also going to the sea and listen to the people that making music with instruments, you know, like more the hippie kind of style, because that's actually where it all started. Eh?
Of course,
Yeah,
of course. That's the vibe. Um,
yeah,
if we were transported ourselves to the end of the summer, right, and your sixth season, your 6 dates are done, and you've done your festival season. We're in October, let's say. If I could give you one wish that you would want for this upcoming summer, what would it be?
yeah. That every party went nice, so no fights. Everybody happy, you know, and I hope the yeah we got a lot of support.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So anybody that's watching this or listening to this, where should they go to check out PIV? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, just go to Instagram and write PIV. You can also go to my Instagram. It's Prunk, and or you can go to the website www.pivrecords.com.
Nice, amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and
Thank
one question for you, Mike. Are you family from the most best defender of Manchester United, or?
No. Thankfully not, because I think he's also the worst player on the team, isn't he? We might be related somehow. He seems to make mistakes as I do. So,
No. It's really nice to talk with you,
and
Mike, and I
you,
hope to see you on Cova Santa.
you will. I'm going to pop up next Tuesday and check it out.
Let's do a drink. Okay, bye bye, people.
See you
Thanks so
later,
much.
dude. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye
Cheers.
bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Bye bye.